biggest thing that I would ever say to anybody is done is better than perfect. And you know, it took us three weeks to set up our company with a £5,000 investment from myself, and that was it.
You both smashed the kind of wellness industry, which is a very saturated market. When do you get your best work done? Early morning or more of a night owl?
But I think also it's just your belief has to be completely bulletproof. You've just got to be the person from day one that believes it's going to work.
That's what's so clear about you guys, is the passion.
My work-life balance was horrendous at the start, and I think that that's super important for any founder or any entrepreneur coming into the space to know. You will have to sacrifice your friends' parties, your social events.
Yeah, I think that's the reality to it. It can be the most brutal and exhilarating journey at the same time.
Go for that coffee, go for that drink, go to this event, because you just don't know who you're going to meet.
What's been like the worst investment you've done from your business, like the biggest waste of money you spent?
I'd probably say the biggest waste of money has gone to
Georgia Salamat, Laura Fullerton, welcome to Founders Code.
Thank you, thanks for having us.
Been looking forward to this.
Right, we're going to start off with some quick fire questions.
Who would be a role model that comes to mind as an entrepreneur or founder?
Oh, can you go first?
I'll jump in, because I actually thought about this yesterday. Will Ahmed, who's the founder of Whoop, I sent him an email yesterday.
Go on, girl, I love that.
I just figured, you know, we always think these people are so far away or out of reach, and I just thought I'll just pop him an email.
Love that.
I'll probably have to do quite a few more until I get a response, but I'll get there.
Yeah, but consistency pays off, right?
Consistency's king.
Just get me on that one.
I think it's fine not to have a role model.
Yeah.
I
tell you why I asked, and we talked, there's a big why behind the programme, is that female founders, there's less than 2% of VC funding goes to girls, right? And it's is that an archaic, broken, chauvinistic system, or is it lack of female role models kicking ass that other girls look up to and want to emulate? And that's both of you, that's all three of you. So that's where the question's coming from. What I get from that is it's not actually been that important to you. You've gone your route and gone where you want, and you're your own person.
I think that's been a real key thing for Acai Girls, is to not necessarily follow the path that anybody else has taken for us, and to really pave our own way. So for us, that was super important to do everything our own way rather than following somebody else's footsteps. I think having a mentor is super important, and we have a couple of incredible people on our board, but not necessarily that one key person that we look up to.
No, that's valuable. It's cool.
I've often thought about that and struggled to find someone. And Whitney Wolf Hurd, you know, the founder of Bumble, I always think she's really cool. I don't know that much about her, but I think she's just brought a new book out. But yeah.
Georgia, you can read that one.
That's one for me. Add that to my list.
What's your one daily non-negotiable to make sure that you just have like the best day, productivity, everything?
For me, that's waking up super early, going on a walk, fresh out, and turning my phone off. So when everything starts, it doesn't stop, and I'm assuming everyone is the same here. So I think having those, even if it's 15 minutes of clarity before the chaos starts, that is my non-negotiable. Clear head, even if it's just normally just not even with a podcast, leave my phone at home and just have those 10 minutes just for me.
Mine, it sounds extreme because there's not really one thing, but there's just a lot of things I do in the morning.
Yeah.
But I always do breath work in front of my red light, sitting on my PEMF mat. Yeah. And I have to have like molecular hydrogen first thing in the morning.
Wow. You see, mine's a free version of that. Mine's an easy habit stack. Love this though.
I try and go to the gym like in the morning. If I do that, I'm going to have a great day. But it's just carving out that time to put yourself first, because I think it's so easy to wake up. And I often will end up doing this, and I'll just hop on my laptop, just do something, and suddenly it's like, you know, I've done 2 hours of work, and it's like half
and like no time for yourself.
So it's not a luxury, it's survival, I think, as a founder, to have those non-negotiables.
Is that an early start? So to fit it in, right? Because I'm guilty, so I want to do that gym work. So do you really get going early to make sure you fit it in?
See, yeah. I used to be part of like the 5 a.m. club, and now I just don't. I prioritize sleep over everything.
I think that's become so pivotal in so many people's daily lives now. Like, I used to be 5 a.m. club, and now I'm not. Actually, you get so much more out of your day from having that extra hour of sleep. And I think people have started to realize that a lot more now.
Yeah.
When do you get your best work done? So you early start, get some gym work, get some fresh air, but actually getting work done. Early morning or more of a night owl?
I'm an early morning type of person. When it gets probably post 7 p.m. is when I switch off from Acai Girl's work, and then I become content creator. So that's when my brain doesn't really need to be active, but that's when if I film, I edit stuff that kind of I can be a little bit relaxed with.
More creative.
Yeah.
Mine are early morning as well, but interestingly, I like to do the more creative stuff earlier in the day, and I try and not have any calls until like after 2 p.m. So that's like my time to get my work done. Because otherwise, all you're doing is working on other people's agendas. I don't know if you find that, but so I try and protect the morning.
What's been like the worst investment you've done from your business? Like the biggest waste of money you spent?
I'd probably say the biggest waste of money has gone to staff, and to staff that haven't necessarily, at the beginning, I think something that we learned along the way was hire slow, fire fast. And I think at the beginning, it was very much like we didn't really know what we were doing. We were trying to find our feet. So we'd invest this money into people that probably weren't necessarily perfect, but they would do at the time. And I think that's something that I would always say, which would be one of my biggest recommendations to anybody setting up, is hire slow and fire fast, because you're investing essentially into the people of your business, because essentially your business is only as good as your worst hire, I would say.
Yeah, I think that's a great proxy. I've also really struggled with hiring in the past.
I think also as a founder to have that, you have a different skill set than you would like being a CEO, and like hiring as a founder, I just don't think we're good at it. I feel like we bring everyone in, we're like, sure, we'll give you a go. And actually it's like, no, you need to be more due diligent and be like, you're not good enough.
Yeah.
Or not the right fit.
Yeah. I think not the right fit is probably really key.
Yeah.
I was recently about to hire, it was a customer success agent, and I had a short list of a couple, and we brought in a new guy, Paul, who's phenomenal, as our head of product and ops, and I showed him the people, and I remember him just being like, no, it's none of these. And he went out and hired someone fantastic.
Wow.
I just thought, God, if we left it up to me, it wouldn't have gone so well.
As founders and entrepreneurs, we have to start on our own from the beginning, right? Is knowing when to delegate. So this is invaluable information, because you're saying, actually, that's probably one thing, as good as I am as a creative or whatever it might be, that's not my skill set. You both smashed the kind of wellness industry, if you like, which is a very saturated market. What's that kind of why? What's the special sauce that's allowed both of you to accelerate into that?
I think for Acai Girls, it was really finding that gap in the market. So we couldn't really find a health and wellness F&B that was going to provide us food that tasted good, that was good for us, that would fill us up, but still have that air of celebration to a meal. And it was either your kind of standard meal prep, or it was food that was master's healthy that it actually wasn't. So there was all these different aspects that we've kind of drew on that were all empty gaps in the market that we then brought together to create one space that kind of provided all of that.
I think for Monk, we were really lucky. So it's a smart ice bath, and we started about 4 years ago. And really, it was born from my own frustration, because I found that I just fell in love with cold water therapy and just wanted to do it more regularly. And I was buying like endless bags of ice to put into my bath at home. I was breaking into frozen like horse water troughs. I also broke into Hampstead Heath ponds at night during lockdown, which turned out was a really bad idea because the water was contaminated and I got sick.
I remember that.
I was just like,
I feel
why?
like a bit of E. coli to set you off.
Yeah, exactly. And then I think the final straw was I stumbled upon this private Facebook group, which had 6,000 people at the time, which I thought was a lot. And I think the other day or a few months ago, I looked and there was like 80,000 people in this group just learning how to transform, this big DIY, like chest freezers into their own DIY ice baths. And I just thought, if there's this many people like willing to get electrocuted, surely there's something bigger here. So I think I found that there was a need, and it came from my own need as well. But also there were so many macro factors at play. This was just after COVID. People had, taken a pivot to realizing actually, they have agency over their own health, and people were looking to slightly more holistic solutions. And so, cold water therapy was just, it was really starting to boom. It's still fringe. It still hasn't really broken through to the mainstream, but it was definitely like on the way there.
That's fascinating.
I can see, staying on the wellness trend, we're all wearing tracking rings. How much does that impact your productivity as a founder? Does it genuinely help you do better work and have a better business?
I would say so. I mean, I've used Aura for, I don't know, maybe it's like 9 years or something.
Wow.
So I don't wake up and look at the scores or anything, but I use it if I'm taking a new supplement or doing a new routine, because I've got such a solid baseline. I can really see if something does impact. Yeah. But then I do, that's a lie, I do use it sometimes for workouts. I'll see what my HRV is. I can just tell if something's up, and it just kind of gives me a little bit of confidence.
And does that help you actually like put your work focus into your business? Like for me, if my sleep score is bad, I'm like, okay, I'm not going to be so good at like running my business right now because I haven't slept as much. So I'm starting to rely on it a bit.
I'm kind of the same, and I was always really conscious of getting something that was going to monitor my sleep for the reason of, oh, I'm going to check it first thing. And to be honest, I am quite guilty. The first thing I do is I go on and I look at my sleep score. Do I necessarily let that impact my business? No, because I think with running a business, you kind of don't really have the opportunity to allow that. Yeah. And I think that there's always going to be something that you have to overcome, whether you had 8 hours or 2 hours. You kind of always need to be on the whole time. So I just find it really interesting to be able to be super in tune with your body and know exactly how it's playing up and what works. Like you said, if you're introducing something new into your diet, or how your body's reacting to that, I think that on that level, it's great.
Yeah, for sure. But equally, if you wake up and see you've had a terrible night's sleep, or even if you just know it, then I'll know what I need to do in order to still function well. Yeah. So if you've had terrible sleep, I'll have a ton of creatine because it's phenomenal. So you just know how to kind of get yourself back up to a good baseline. Because like you say, you don't have an option. Like you have to perform.
There's a whole self-awareness piece though, which just brings wellness right into the conversation. And both of you have come through whatever your journey's been of grafting crazy long hours, that whole Insta versus reality to be where you are now. Someone watching or listening that's coming into entrepreneurship, how did you manage that? How do you actually get that balance where you could work every hour of the day, right? There's someone else to call, there's something else to do. You've got clearly some balance now, both of you, but someone watching in needs to probably hear how to avoid burnout, what they can do to just not burn out.
I think for me, like my work-life balance was horrendous at the start, and I think that that's super important for any founder or any entrepreneur coming into the space to know. You will have to sacrifice your friends' parties, your social events, and I think the word burnout is thrown around quite a lot, especially with the whole Gen Z as well. And I think for me, burnout doesn't come from working too hard; it comes from not resting enough. So I think I will never tell somebody not to work as hard, because essentially as an entrepreneurial founder, you should find your 100% work limit and then add 20%, and that's what you'll be working. But know how to then balance that with actually looking after yourself. So, making sure that you're taking the power of no, I think is super important. Knowing when it is your limit, but to know that, like I say, you will have to put in 7 days a week, 18-hour days. And it's tough. Yeah. It's hard. But if you want to do it, you can.
Yeah. I think that's the reality to it. It can be the most brutal and exhilarating journey at the same time. But I don't know if you've had any breaking points. I remember my first business was this health and fitness subscription box. And I think it was in early days. We were maybe doing 60 or 80 boxes a month. And we took on this order for, this thing was Spartan Race, Reebok. And we had to do 500 boxes. And I had to carry 1.5 tons of stock up 3 flights of stairs to my flat, rearrange it all into these boxes, pack it, take it down, bribe someone from Royal Mail to come pick it up. And it got to 3 a.m. and I was lying on the floor crying in pain because my back hurt, eating a Squirrel Sisters bar that should have gone in one of the boxes. And I remember just thinking this has to change. But I think there's so many breaking points like that in businesses. And I don't think a lot of people really understand how hard it is. It is the loneliest journey at times. It's tough.
It's important to hear that, right? The sort of glam, and it's actually become something that's fashionable almost to be a founder now amongst celebrities. But do they really understand what's involved? They might have a team that's put in place. That's not proper founder, but this is the real grafting, right?
I think especially being fashionable as a female founder, that's become super fashionable. However, it's not for everyone. And as you said earlier, only 2% of VC funding goes to females. Do you have any advice because I've definitely suffered from it before, being a female in business, raising money, running a business. Has that ever happened to you guys? Has there ever been any hurdles? And if so, what was your advice to actually navigate that?
I mean, we've probably broached on it a couple of times, I think, with investors, where unfortunately it's then ended up to go down a bit more of a flirty route, or we've been introduced on an email to somebody super senior from a potential investor as attractive, which I do think has nothing to do with how great your business is or how successful you are. And I think if it was a man that was being introduced, he would never go and he's really hot. Yeah. So, and I think it's not to take it too seriously. For me, that doesn't necessarily bother me emotionally that much. It's kind of where I learn to brush it off. Do I think it's right? No. But I think also making sure that you stand your ground as a female entrepreneur. Like I have, so most of my team and employees are probably 40 plus, majority of them men. So having those tough conversations with them, especially when I was 25 starting off, I'm assuming some of them are looking at me being like, who is this 25-year-old girl telling me how to run my life? And, and I think you just have to go in with, know exactly what your stance is, be confident in yourself and just, know exactly what you want to say.
I remember once being over in the US, I was staying with some friends and I was fundraising at the time. And I met one of their investors and he wanted to take me for dinner to chat about Monk. And I had that feeling, when you just know, I was like, I'm worried that he thinks this is maybe more of a date. My friend's like, no, billionaires in America are just different. They operate differently. And we went to dinner and 100% it was just a date.
Oh my
but
God.
at the time, I was absolutely broke. I slept on the airport floor in LA. And I don't know if you've ever had to, if you've witnessed it late at night, it's not a fun or nice place.
You're on your own.
Remember, pardon?
You're on your own?
I was on my own. And I was like, I've done this to try and come and get a check and all you want to do is go on a date. And I remember just crying and I was just like, I just never want to be in this position again.
Yeah.
I've got two daughters, two teenage daughters, so a massive why for me is in any way change that narrative, where, and it does feel like a lot of people around me, successful men that have exited are looking to try and champion and partner with, girls that are founding businesses, and I think part of that is to shift that whole equality. So I hope that narrative is changing. Yeah. They're pretty harrowing stories, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think I've just shared like a couple of the worst, but
yeah, but that to be fair, that's kind of what you were asked to do.
Yeah. I do have some incredible people involved in the business who do champion women, who have really, really helped me on my journey. And I think especially for a lot of them to invest in a solo female founder, it speaks volumes. Yeah,
you've both got backstories that sort of become personal brand into the businesses that you've got. How much time do you spend on kind of personal brand and sort of almost understanding that to then ripple that into the business?
I think an emotional connection to your consumer is so important, and that is pivotal on how successful your brand is going to be. And I think everybody wants to know the story. So for us, I set it up with my sister, and we were involved, just the two of us. We were in the kitchen serving the food, just the two of us, I think, for the first 6 months. And so we do let that still seep into, now we're 3 sites, we're 42 members of staff. We still let that air of personality come into it, because like I say, people want to relate to something and they want a story and they want to connect. And that's what then sets you apart from a brand. So that for me is so important, to make sure that you are telling a story with no matter what you're selling.
I'm definitely realizing or accepting the importance of it more. I think James, my chairman, is always saying, like, it's got to be founder-led, just really pushing me to be much more the face of it, which I've kind of resisted, which is interesting, because if a friend was talking to me, I'd be like, no, you need to be like front and center. But it's easy to try and just like hide a little bit behind the scenes. But I think it, to your point, it resonates really well.
And I guess it's then tricky as well, because then you become a key person risk. And then at what point can you then remove yourself from the brand without it actually being detrimental?
That's why I was asking, because you're both entwined, and I get that you're almost imposter syndrome with what you're doing, but actually we buy into people first and foremost. You just saying that you were smashing through ice to get into like a trough, the whole thing breeds into the story. Yeah.
With your journeys and your personal branding, like a lot of people want to start like a fast food restaurant, a QSR chain. A lot of people have a product they want to develop. When was that moment when you had the product, you had your first restaurant, where you're like, okay, this actually is going to work, like the breakthrough point? Where customers started to come in, and you thought, right, let's go, let's do this.
Do you know what? From day one, we were really lucky. Like the biggest thing that I would ever say to anybody is done is better than perfect. And it took us three weeks to set up our company with a £5,000 investment from myself, and that was it. And we were renting a kitchen for £12 an hour because it was COVID. Just Megan and I. My sister had no idea how to cook. And from day one, we made a hell of a lot of mistakes, and the food that we sent out on day one, like, God forbid it anyway ever resurfaces. But it was busy from the get-go. And we just kind of then had built, my sister was amazing on social media. She'd built this cult following. So it was kind of probably a week in where it was still, we were like, wow, this is, there's still people, we're having 150 orders a day on our 5th day. This could be really something that we can grow into something amazing.
That's cool. Have the right people around you. That's really cool.
That doesn't happen to everyone.
No.
It doesn't. That doesn't happen. I think because we kind of built it up on Instagram first, we then had loads of PR girls being like, I love to cook, can I come work for you guys? So at the start, we didn't have to actually look for staff, they found us. But then it was pivotal when we kind of were 8 girls in a kitchen. The only one who actually knew how to cook was myself, and they were all PR girls. We thought, okay, we actually need to pivot our employee basis here and actually employ people now who are chefs who know what they're doing. And then we ended up taking 7 dark kitchens during COVID and pivoted from there. But yeah, that's kind of how it really resonated for us.
Wow. So it's like socials first, really.
Yeah.
Become that content creator and then translate into a brand.
Yeah.
I think in a way it was fairly similar for Monk in the sense that we built this brand on social before we had a product, because hardware takes years to develop. And so I think one of the key moments for us was we got quite a lot of press before we'd even shown a product, a picture of what it looked like. Like, I didn't even know what Monk was going to look like. And we secured coverage in like the Times, Vogue, like loads of titles, which was incredible. And so that was a huge, I guess, vote of confidence that we were going to be doing something really good. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I think also it's just your belief has to be, completely bulletproof. You just got to be the person from day one that believes it's going to work.
That's what's so clear about you guys, is the passion for what you set out to achieve something. Did you ever have any advice that was given to you that you look back on as just the worst advice you could have been given from potentially someone quite close to you?
To outsource as much as possible. I think when we first set up, people were like, raise money, raise money. So many people told us to raise money. And not that I'm saying that is a bad route to go down at all, 100% for some people that is the way. For us, we wanted full control over everything and quality, and to learn everything ourselves. So, if we got in a guy people, if something broke, people would say, just get somebody in to fix it, where we get in a plumber and Meg and I would learn what he's actually doing. So the amount of fridges that I've now fixed and the amount of taps, and I know all about the internet ether cables and the Cat 5s, Cat 6, and I would always say learn as much as possible yourself, because as a founder, you end up being the biggest slasher on the planet. You are HR, you are, maintenance, you are a recipe creator, all of these. So try and keep as much as possible under your own belt, I would say.
That's brilliant advice.
The amount I've learned about cooling units and stuff. Semi-engineer. I don't think I've had, I'm sure I've had quite a lot of bad advice, but I think you've just always got to take advice with a pinch of salt. And I always almost qualify someone, being like, have you lived what I'm doing? Are you actually why would I take your advice? Have you done it before?
Yeah, everyone loves to put their 2 pence in.
Yeah.
That's why I asked you. There can often be a family member saying, well, what makes you think you can create an ice bath that will beat the competition? It's like, what do they know?
Yeah. And again, I think it just comes back to your own belief. And also having good people around the table whose advice you really trust. I don't know what your kind of setup is in terms of your board, but particularly being a solo founder at the beginning, I remember sitting down with someone who became my first investor and mapped out how we wanted to structure it. So I'd have really good support around me, even though I didn't have that co-founder. And that led me to have some really great advisors.
So how did you actually find those advisors? Everyone's dream is to have the perfect board, and have some big names on that. How did you guys go about manufacturing that?
I think your network is key, and you have to go out and speak to as many people as possible. And I think even if that's not in your nature, as an entrepreneur, as a founder, you just have to put yourself out there and connect with as many people as you can. Go for that coffee, go for that drink, go to this event, because you just don't know who you're going to meet, and speak to everybody, because yes, okay, 50% of what you might hear might not be in line with what you're after, might not resonate with you, but then you might find that nugget of information that you're just like, wow, they're so in line with the business. Wow, they get it. And you just kind of click. So I think just speaking to as many people as you possibly can for us was the main thing.
Yeah, I was going to say the exact same thing. Network is just everything. I think from having a couple of businesses before, I had built up a really great network there anyway. But I also joined a couple of groups, members networking groups. There's one called Adorum in London, which was great. And I was part of a few in the US, like Baby Bathwater. And they were all fantastic.
Some people latch onto their connects, where I think I'm so anti that. And if I can connect somebody who I think would be perfect for somebody else, then do it. And I would say that you should, in this space, it's tough. So if you can help somebody out, why not?
I love that. That aligns us all rather than holding it all in. I'm really interested in both your businesses in context. So I had a cold shower this morning, the benefits of what that can do, and obviously nutrition, eating well. What would you say is the number one kind of why stroke ultimate wellness benefit to both your businesses?
So for Acai Girls, we champion anti-diet culture. We don't demonize food groups. And we really wanted that all-encompassing kind of to celebrate food again. And essentially, food is everything in terms of your mental, your physical, your whole well-being. The fuel that you put into your body affects your whole life. So we really wanted to shift the movement in the way, I think about 4 years ago, the way the food movement was going, it was food with formula and everything kind of was getting really complicated and it was either really dull or really unhealthy, or you had to work out your macros and we kind of wanted to strip all of that back and provide people with food that was going to nourish them, make them feel incredible, but they didn't have to, we don't want them to feel guilty about it, So if you want that cookie, have the cookie. And if you want a really delicious sandwich, have it. But you know that you're eating healthy food and it's going to fuel you for every single aspect of your other life.
The why for Monk, I guess I would say, I don't think the world needs more convenience and comfort. I think we need more resilience and to do hard things. And that's exactly what cold water is. It's an amazing tool to build resilience. And so that's why we make these beautiful tools for uncomfortable growth. And we call it the most transformative 2 minutes of your day, which is what, I really
like that. Great tagline.
That's the optimum time, is it 2 minutes?
It depends on why you're doing it. For example, if you were doing it for muscle recovery, you'd use it at a much higher temperature, but maybe for like 10 minutes, 10 to 15. 2 minutes, it's a great catch-all. Yeah. But I mean, if you're a complete beginner, 30 seconds is great.
And do you do it every day?
No.
Okay.
No. I do it probably 3-4 times a week. But it depends. There's some studies, people say 11 minutes a week is great, but I think it really depends, especially if you're a female in your menstrual years. Like I'll use it like in line with my cycles.
What is that in line look like?
So during your actual period, I just won't do it at all, because that's when your hormones are at your lowest. That's where you're also like super sensitive to
be stressed at all.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want to put more stress on your body. Like it's a good kind of stress, but when you're already like plateaued, you don't want that. And then as you go into follicular, particularly like the second week, that's like a great time to start like tapering up, doing more like longer plunges. Ovulation is incredible. That's like the time, if you want to go like for colder, longer plunges, that's the time to do it. And then as you get through luteal, that's again like at the beginning it's fine, but then I just start tapering off as I get closer to my period.
Does the app track all of that then as well?
Yeah, so you can track exactly when you're doing it. It doesn't integrate with like menstrual tracking apps yet, but that's something I'd love to do in the future. Yeah. But there was this really interesting pilot study. Dr. Stacey Sims, they took a group of females who had severe endometriosis and they got them plunging for 10 days around ovulation. And within 3 menstrual cycles, the symptoms were almost completely gone.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's compelling.
It's
so
wild.
It actually helps you with hormones then? Directly, it's impacting what hormones are being created?
The way this works with endometriosis, because it's an inflammatory condition and cold water therapy or cold water is just so it's so anti-inflammatory. So I think it works on that mechanism. But as long as you're using it right, then for sure it can support hormones.
Wow.
Yeah.
Need to get involved.
Yeah. Right, guys. Well, final question, the most important question of the show is, what is your founder's code? So what is your one piece of advice to any founders out there?
I think I've already touched on it, but done is better than perfect. And for me, that is the number one thing, because even if you think your product is perfect or whatever you've got out there, you will pivot 100 times and you will adapt. There's, changes in consumer trends, technology, competitors in the market. There are so many moving parts to anything you're going to put out there. So just get it done and learn on the job and just action, basically.
I would say, I completely second that as well. I would say take care of your mental health. Like whether it is those like that 10 minutes in the morning, whatever it is that gives you that time to get your mental state in order, take that, because it's, you are the most important asset in the business.
I need to get more sleep after this conversation. That's all I'm saying.
Right. And have ice baths.
Yeah, but it's been fascinating. I mean, knew it would be, but thank you guys.
Thank you.
Learned
Thank you for coming.
so much.